This is the Bottom Shot Podcast.
Pulvereri is up high. They come out of turn number 4. Stutter between the turns. The fans come to their feet.
It is Ted Christopher still in command. Keith Rocco right there on his back bumper.
Bringing Stafford Motor Speedway's past and present together.
They are side by side running for the finish line. It's a photo finish.
Deep into turn number 3. He goes in deeper than most. Christopher is in trouble. It is Keith Rocco to slingshot to the bottom, and he'll take down the win.
A Stafford Motor Speedway production where we will hear from the personalities from the past and present that found success on the legendary half-mile oval.
The scoreboard shows goose eggs as they wait. It's Pulvereri. He wins it by inches over Richie Evans in the Spring Sizzler.
Unbelievable chain of events.
Now, here are your hosts, Paul Aroot and Kyle Rickey.
It's the Bottom Shot Podcast here from the Stafford Motor Speedway. Paul Aroot, Kyle Rickey, joined by a two-time late model track champion here at Stafford, one of the great personalities of the 80s and the 90s and even into the 2000s, Chuck Zentarski. Chuck, welcome to Stafford and welcome to the podcast.
Pleasure to be here. I've been asked to do this for a while now, and things didn't come into play, and I've been excited to come.
We're excited to have the Polish rocket on the podcast here. One of the all-time fan favorites at Stafford, I think. People still talk about you driving off into the corner with the thing cocked sideways, and the battles over the years were tremendous against so many drivers.
I have so many memories of racing. It's every day someone comes down my business and they talk about, I used to watch you race, and it's unbelievable, how many people that watched me and say they enjoyed it,
Fun to watch.
So tell us, go back all the way to the beginning.
That first memory.
How did you get started in racing, and what is your first kind of time as a kid or as an adult just being at the track?
When I was a kid, around the corner from my house, there was a stock car there that raced down Haven Speedway. The number was 36, and the driver was Bernie Williams. And his wife was friends with my mom. And as a kid, I think I was 7, 8 years old, used to ride my bike down and watch Bernie working on the car in his garage. And I was so unbelievable fascinated with the stock car, I was thrilled. So one night, Connie, that was his wife's name, asked my mom, can I take Chuck to the races, Haven Speedway? I had to be 7, 8 years old. And I went to that race, man, I was hooked.
What got you hooked? What about what you saw
Just
and
the
felt that night?
fascination of the cars going around, and I just loved it, I had to go there every week, and I remember one night I was a little kid, and I remember Billy showing up with the 43, and he had the V8 in the car, and the cars at West Haven had 6 cylinders, but it was some sort of special race. Billy came down and he started in the back, and he just dusted the field. He went through them like butter, and he won the race. I think he lapped the field or something, and he won the race. And I remember that day with Billy, but I didn't know him then. I was only, I met him years later. But my favorite driver down there was Johnny Cambino.
That's a great name.
Yeah, he was my favorite driver. And my father hated that place. And then he says, that's Skid Row down there because there's a lot of riffraff, And he didn't want me to go there. And a couple of nights from my house to where it was had to be 1.5 miles, 2 miles away. On a Saturday night, I could hear the cars racing. And I was sitting there. My father wouldn't let me go, and I was crying my eyes out. Yeah, it's unbelievable, that.
So talk about that. So you said it's a stock car. What kind of, is it just like an old jalopy? Like, what are we talking?
The coupes.
The coupes, okay.
The coupes. Now, today I collect all memorabilia from the West Haven Speedway. I have all the pictures of all the stock cars down there. I know every driver that drove there. And I have a sign in my waiting room. It's an original sign from the Speedway. Get your racing T-shirts here.
Cool.
It was in the novelty booth, and below where you buy your novelties. The little cars. And stuff. Yeah.
So there's already a lot to unpack here. So your favorite driver was who?
Johnny Cambino.
And why was he your favorite?
He had he was just always up in the front, and the way he drove, and I liked his car, and he used to, he started out with one. Every year he had a different car to drive. Them guys back then, they switched rides around. It was unbelievable. How many every year they switch cars, especially Johnny did. But he lived in my neighborhood.
Oh, okay.
He lived like maybe 4 blocks away, and I would ride my bike over, leave a paper and a pencil, and with his picture. I had a picture of him that I bought, and I knock on the door, and his wife would answer the phone. And I used to say, could you have Johnny sign this for me? And I leave him, and I come back the next day and get the picture.
Wow. Who needs pit parties when you can just go to the house and go to the front door?
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, they didn't have pit
exactly.
Who were some of the other drivers kind of in that era that were competing
there was Tommy Sutcliffe. He was the Fireball 4. There was another friend that, later on I became friends with, Tommy Martino with the Flying Zero. And, then there was Red O'Keefe in the 69. He raced here. Bobby Black with the 2. Johnny, the 7, and he had the 12. Then the 5 he raced. There was so many drivers. It's hard to... Lou Toro.
Lou Toro, okay, yeah.
But then but his name down the rock was Lou Miami. And what they did back then is they used to change their last names, different names, so their moms wouldn't read their name in the paper on Sunday morning.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
because they were 16, 17 years old.
It kind of has a Bugsy Stevens feel to it.
He did the same thing. Yeah.
Lou Miami.
And they had all these different names. And I got the picture of all the drivers hung up in my garage. What was the other name? And that was Lou Toro. And then there was Torino, some guy Torino. They would change their names.
Yeah. Kyle Orlando.
There you go.
Yeah.
So then you also you mentioned a bit that your father really was kind of hesitant to let you go to the races.
Yeah.
And was there, it was just because the neighborhood, kind of the people that were around there? And how would you get him to kind of change his mind, or did you just not tell him?
There was, it was an amusement park. And there was a lot of riffraff down there, stealing and, just bums hanging out. It's just, I didn't notice that, but he said it was riffraff down there, and I don't want you down there, And he died when I was young, so I had free reign. So my friend used to live right across the street from the track. Yeah. So on Friday night, I ride my bike down to the Speedway. Saturday morning, we would get up, deliver papers to all the people, in the neighborhood. 11 o'clock, at 10 o'clock, we go collecting the money. 11 o'clock, we're on the roller coaster, riding the roller coaster all day. And then at 5 o'clock, he would get 2 free tickets from the track from Harvey Tattersall to get into the Speedway, 50 cents a piece. We would go to the front gate, sell the ticket for 25 cents. So we were out of money because we blew it at the amusement
the roller
park.
coaster. Mm-hmm.
And we had a board down the end. We lift up and sneak in. And we would take the 25 cents, go get a hot dog and a soda.
That's all you needed.
Yep. I had the hot dog and the soda. I'll never forget this. And we were talking to these 2 girls, right? We met girls down there, 11 years old, 12 years old. And I had my hot dog like this here. This kid ran by. He bit my hot dog. He bit my hot dog and took off. It was the kid today, and I ended up becoming friends with him later on in years. Yeah, he passed away now. Yeah, but all good memories, man. All good memories. The Hurricane Hull drivers used to go there and do their stunts.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That
Some
back
of the early
then,
stunt shows, yeah.
Oh, that was good times.
You mentioned Harvey Tattersall.
Yeah.
Did you know him? I hear that name so much when we do
Yes,
this
I
show.
did.
Tell us about
know.
Harvey.
He lived, I bought a house on Sorensen's Road, and he lived right across the street from me. Yeah, right in West Haven. Harvey, I got to tell you another story. And how I got hooked up with Greco
Yep.
is I was 16 years old, 17 years old, and I was working in a gas station. And George owned a gas station. And George decides he's going to race stock cars, go back to Riverside Park. This is like 1971. So they had a meeting right in front of the window in Harvey Tattersall's Lincoln. George, Billy, Harvey. And I seen Harvey pass George money, $1,500 to buy a chassis, to build a car, to come back to Riverside Park. That's what they did back then.
Wow.
Yeah. I seen it right there. He passing him the money. He wanted Billy back at Riverside.
Wow.
He was, because Billy brought the crowds.
Yes.
He had a whole crew.
Yeah. The stands were packed with fans. So at that time, I owned a ramp truck, 17 years old, because me and my buddy were racing at Connecticut Drag Race, Connecticut Dragway. I was racing a Camaro. I was the crew, working on the car. He was the driver. So 3 weeks in a row, we go to the track. He red lighted every time we got knocked out. Finally, he says, Chuck, you drive. 3 races in a row, I won. He couldn't believe it. He was going crazy. He red lighted every time. I just waited till the green light go and went. But, I mean, he used to try to cut the light, you know. And the other guy red lighted. I won a race because the other guy red lighted. And I won a race because I beat the guy. And he broke or something. We went, So now George was building the race car. Here's me working from 7 to 6 at the gas station. 7 o'clock, I was at George's house all night working on the stock car. Never went back to the drags ever again. We used my ramp truck to get the 43 to the track every week. 17 years old on this.
So was that dragster the first time you really drove anything competitively?
Yeah. It was a 68 Camaro.
Yeah. But still, that's the first time you were in a competition with a race car.
Yeah.
And so you get hooked up with the Grecos.
Yep. And that's
you must have learned a lot.
Yes, I did. Yeah. One day, Billy would be at the track. Billy come in because we had drum brakes with brake shoes. Billy said, my brakes are low. Tell George. George, he had so much faith in his brother working on that car. So George would say, Chuck, go under there, adjust them brakes. I go under there, adjust the brakes. Billy goes out, comes back in, brakes are pulling. Me and George, no, I'm embarrassed. Brakes, I didn't adjust them right. This is a true story. George goes under there, I'm under there with him. What the hell did I do wrong? George went under there, faked adjusting the brakes. Faked it. Just knocked it around. Watch him. He didn't touch him. Says, watch this, Chuck. Faked it. Says, okay, go out and try it. Comes back in. They're perfect.
Of course they are.
Because he saw me adjust them, and he didn't think I could do it right. And the only one he wanted working on that car was his brother.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, that's a driver thing. Yeah. Mental. You know what I mean? I understand it now. But I didn't understand it then.
Right.
But I understand, now.
So when do you get in the seat for the first time on an oval track?
Okay. I had a friend, Dick Fickett, that lived in West Haven. He moves to Rhode Island. Okay. Chuck, I'm moving to Rhode Island. He was one of the best welders that I ever seen. He taught me how to weld. He worked for NASA. They welded stuff for the space stations. He could weld 2 pieces of aluminum foil together. He was that good, He moves to Rhode Island. One day I'm at the garage. I owned a gas station. I owned a garage since I was 20 years old on my own. Calls me, Chuck, this kid up here, he owned it was Ricky Sean. Mm-hmm. He has his girlfriend does the books, and he shortened his account, $3,500. They made a mistake. He says, he's selling his race car. Are you interested? I says, yeah, I'm interested. So he says, come to the Waterford Saturday night. I go up there with my wrecker. He wanted $2,000 for the car. So I came up with $1,000, and my friend Anthony Cardone, he put up the other $1,000. We get there, put the money right on the roof. Here's your $2,000. He says, I had no driver's suit, helmet, nothing. Borrowed a helmet from somebody. I needed a fire suit. So the only guy that was my size, I was thinner then, was Leo Clary. So I go over to Leo. Leo, you got a fire suit I can borrow? Leo tells his wife, go in my trunk, get the white fire suit. He had carried 3 of them in his trunk. He brings me the fire suit, I put it on. Leo, I go out. In the heat, didn't qualify. Spinning, didn't know what the hell I was doing. So now Ricky says, Chuck, let me qualify it for you in the Consi. I said, I'm qualifying this car. Go out in the Consi, was 2 laps to go, 4 qualify, I was 6th. 1 lap to go, I'm into that turn. I ended up 4th. Passed 2 guys on the last lap. Qualified the car. It wasn't pretty, but I did it.
Make a lane and go.
The next thing you hear, Chuck Zentarski, please report to Phil Smith in the tower. So I go up there. Phil says, your first time racing? Yeah, you're a little rough out there. I says, well, I had to qualify, I'll calm it down in the feature, I said. All right. The feature's starting dead last. Let me tell you something. And I can't remember. Maybe it was the heat. I was sitting in that car in the heat, shaking. Mm-hmm. Listen to me. My foot went shaking. I remember that. Scared in the car. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if someone never admits that, first time you get in a car, but I was just, I remember my trembling in the car. But I got over with that one. Started dead last, ran the rest, and I finished 10th.
Wow.
First time ever in the car.
And didn't touch anybody in the feature, right?
Nope, I was good.
All right.
Yeah, I just let everybody wreck.
That's right.
And I stayed, and I finished 10th.
What kind of car was this?
71 Chevelle.
So it's like a sportsman type class or like a late model?
No, it was called street stock.
Okay.
The streets that grew into the late model division later on.
And so you buy this car. So before you bought the car, was there any you were interested in it, or was it even a thought in your head, or was it like, oh, this guy I know's got a car, we're going to run down and buy it?
I'll be there. I'll buy it, yeah. $2,000, I figured, hey, cheap enough.
And it's your first time in the pits, not in the pits, but a driver, and you walk up to Leo Cleary.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Leo Cleary. I walked there. I didn't know he was the biggest guy there.
Did you know who he was?
I watched him race.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
I never talked to him.
That's awesome.
But no problem. He gave me the fire suit.
I mean, what are the chances?
Without even hesitating.
Yeah.
That's what, you know what I mean? He was a good guy.
Who were some of the drivers that were also in the sportsman field with you, or the street stock field with you?
Flying Brian, Phil Rondo, Jay Stuart wasn't there yet. They all had, and then there was they all had these Jim the Animal Lloyd.
Yep.
Everybody had a name, and late, about a week later or 2 weeks later, Phil Smith gave me that Polish
I was
rocket.
just going to ask where that came
It was
from.
almost immediate.
Yep, it was like a week later or 2 weeks later he came up to me and says, Chuck the Polish Rocket. That's what he called it. He nicknamed me.
Sometimes a nickname just transcends time, right?
Yep. He came up with 2 weeks later. Yeah.
So the first event's over. You put it on your truck, and now you have a race car in your shop. Where does it go from there?
Well, we went back the next week, and it just snowballed. Just snowballed. I just kept going. I had to learn how to drive, how to set the car up,
Was it a natural? Did you take to it immediately, or was it a long, progression to improve? Or?
It took a while to figure it out. I mean, not really, because I think 2 years later, the last race of the season, I was running for the championship at Waterford.
Wow.
I was, and I think Brian, Artie Moran, or somebody was ahead of me, and I was either second or third. No, I was second. And something happened to Brian. I would have won the championship, but my engine blew on the last race. And I lost the championship. All I had to do was stay where I was, and I would have won it my second year in. Yeah.
And at this time, you kind of, it sounds as though you're a car guy your whole life. You know a lot about cars.
Well, yeah, that's
for your whole life.
That's what helped me was my mechanical skills. And anybody that says that, to be a good driver, you have to understand how that car operates, how it works. I used to go, to my friend's garage, and he had his son, driving the car. Now, I don't want to mention any names because it's not fair to them. And he was sitting there, and he said, Chuck, could you come down and look at my car? And I said, yeah, I'll look at it. He had a late model. And the father's working on the car. The kid is sitting in the office playing video games. Before I even worked on the car, I said to the kid, you don't work on the car? I said, you got to work on the car to understand how it drives. Jeff Gordon don't work on his car. That was it. I mean, that's what the kid said to me.
Wow.
That you can't have that attitude. No. You want to race and be up front? Mm-hmm. You help your father on that car, I said. You got to understand how this car works. Mm-hmm. Kid never did nothing. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So that's obviously a big advantage for you being always in cars. So when you get this initial car, do you build all your own stuff? Do you kind of just go through your engines and everything?
Dick Fickett was building my engines because he was doing that. Well, he was doing it, but I would put them together and he would do like the machine work and but I would put them together. And then we started, I never sent anything out to get, to a chassis shop. We bent the front, we had to figure it out, how to fix it. Mm-hmm. And you just started figuring it out, At the end, we got good, You just start doing, you made a lot of mistakes, but you learned from your mistakes, not to do that again, And that's how you do it. And I learned from working on this 43, too. I used to work on that.
Yeah, I think to go back to that, there must have been a time where you learned so much with that 43. I mean, when you were there, they were at their peak, right? They were winning a bunch of races.
We won 9 races at Riverside Park one year. Yeah, and didn't win the championship.
Right.
Yeah.
And not only that, but you also you were working on the 43, but you got to see the evolution of these cars and what's happening at these short tracks.
Right. And, then it became a money thing. That's where it is today.
Right.
And to me, the old days where you did everything yourself was how it should be. That's what I think, But people want to race and they don't have the skills and they have to have someone do it for them. I understand that too, But I wouldn't, I had to work on my own stuff.
So is there a point when in your driving, I know you said in the second season you're already a contender, but is there a point where it kind of just it clicks and you guys start to fire it off and you get to start you cracked into victory lane? Like what point is that?
That happened in about 1989, 1990. I figured it out.
And what caused what? Weight.
My cars were too heavy. Mm-hmm. I said they're too heavy. We put that one year, I think it was night. We put the car. Says I come into the garage. My crew is there. Says we're putting the car on a diet. Listen, and we trimmed, and it was the rear percentage thing. We needed that rear percentage. I didn't have enough. We took nose weight off, put it to the rear, and that's when the car started going faster. Because we had the nose too heavy.
What spurred that? Did somebody give you advice, or you were just looking at what everybody else was doing?
Yeah, Tony Sylvester. I went to his garage, and I seen what he was doing. And I said, "You're making a mistake. You got your car too heavy." Yeah.
So how did you trim that weight? You just kind of started moving it around?
And Andy Johnson.
Okay.
Andy Johnson, too. He was building cars. Andy Johnson was building cars. So I says, "Andy, build me a car, too." He built 3 cars. He built me a car. And I seen the way he was building cars, and I says, we're building them way too heavy. And that's where
and then it clicked.
When it clicked, where my mistakes was.
At what point, and we've talked about Waterford and your early success there, at what point do you try other facilities like here at Stafford?
Well, I was racing Waterford, then they came out with the Tri-Track series.
Yep.
And that's when I came here. Race Waterford, Stafford, Waterford, and Thompson. 3 years in a row. I raced, I think, 66 races a year.
Wow.
60, yeah.
That's a lot.
We would come
With
home.
the same car?
I had 2 cars, 1 motor. We used to come home from Stafford on a Friday night when they only had 2 divisions here, parked right here. Our race was over with at 9:30, 9 o'clock. Load the car up, go home, take the motor on a Friday night, take the motor out, put it in the Thompson car, the Waterford car, and go and put it in, get it all ready Saturday night, Friday night, and make last call at the bar. The bar was right around the corner.
Yeah.
We would get the car done so we could go have a drink.
I mean, the motivation.
On a Friday night, yeah. And then we raced Waterford, and the same car that I raced Waterford, I went to Thompson with. We would have to change the rear end.
Wow.
Yeah. We did that for like most of the season. Till my motor was, Dick was building a motor for me. And it took forever to get done. And
You just swap them out.
yeah.
That's crazy.
But,
Talk about making it hard.
Yeah. Yep. And we did it. We did
Yeah.
it, though. And I had a good crew that did it with me, you know?
So, do you remember the first time you drove at Stafford, the first time you went on the
Yep.
track? Because it's such a different
It was completely different.
because you're used to Waterford, which, I mean, is symmetrical, at least. It's
Yeah.
much smaller. The corners are the same. You come here. Tell us about that.
I think the first time I came here, I ended up finishing like 4th or 5th.
Wow.
First time.
Wow.
Yeah. Just kept my nose clean, you know. And then I think the same year, I was going for it. I had the lead. Coming for the checker. My right front rotor breaks in the 4th turn. My first win ever here. I was coming for the lead. Wow. The checker.
Oh, you were coming to the checker?
I was coming for, they were waving the checker flag, and my rotor broke. In the right front, car went up, and I ended up like 5th or 6th.
Huh. Yeah. And you just take to Stafford then. Why do you think your driving style kind of suited this place?
Well, you have to learn this track, you know, and we had a lot of trouble, you know, being loose. That was like, I think that Tri-Track series started in 87. It went 87, 88, 89. And I finished 2nd all 3 years. Phil Rondo won all 3 years. He had 3 different cars, 3 different owners. I had one, you know what I mean? 2 cars, 1 engine. 1 owner, 1 engine. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And he, you know, he raced for himself here. Then he raced for Jay Stuart. He drove for Jay Stuart at Waterford. And then his brother at Thompson. Yeah.
You got your first win here, one of those years, I believe, 1989.
Yeah, 89.
What do you remember about that first Stafford checkered flag when you finally made it to the start-finish line?
It was, you know, what a feeling. We went crazy. Yeah, that was – I can't remember how I won it, but just to win here was a big event, you know, just – it was huge. Yeah.
First of many wins here.
Yeah.
23.
Many.
Yep.
It's hard. I'm trying to think it was like in May or something.
It was early in the season, I believe.
Yeah. We just got, you had to be up front, nothing brakes, and the car was fast, but not fast enough, Yep. Then in like 91 was my best year ever. And what happened in 91, the first 3 weeks of my racing, I wrecked. We wrecked here. We wrecked at Thompson for the icebreaker. Wrecked here, and I think I wrecked again here. 3 weeks. At the third week, I said to my crew, I'm done.
It doesn't sound like the best season ever.
No, it wasn't.
Until that point, yeah.
Yeah, and I says, I'm done. I'm not working on this car. We were thrashing on the car every week, putting it back together. 3 weeks in a row wrecked, but we were fast. The car was fast. The fourth week, I won. I won 7 races in a row between here and Thompson. I won 7. We raced here in Thompson.
It's crazy.
On Friday and Sunday, and we won 7 in a row.
Wow.
It's amazing when it goes bad. It
goes
bad, but
bad.
when it starts to click.
Yeah, and then I won the track championship here and Thompson in 91. We went to Pocono, 91. I think I won the qualifier here to go to Pocono. To win Pocono, 3/4 track. Mm-hmm. So we go there. They time trial, 300 guys, 200 and something cars from all over, had the second fastest time. And the guy that had the quickest time was Brad Smells or Shells or something like that. 12 100,000ths of a second. That's how slow I was. I was right there. We go run the feature. We're racing, and I think Mike Levetri blew his oil filter off going down the back straightaway. Oil down the whole track. We had a red light condition. I'm here. Brad is here, and I'm right here. He starts his radiators boiling over. His radiator cap got loose. Listen to me. Never saw this ever. The official in the turn lifted his hood, tightened his radiator cap.
Wow.
Yeah. An official.
Wow.
Mark, if we ever did this, an official did that, Mark would shit a breath. He would be out of his mind.
Oh, my God. Could you imagine if there was social media then?
Oh, God. Shit. So now, he wins the race. I finish second. We had to pull our engine out and weigh the piston rod assembly. You had to weigh 1275. Right? We had our engine out in an hour, all apart, and they had a tent set up. And in the tent, they had a balance beam, a scale. And on the scale, they had the weights, 1275. You take your piston and rod, put it on this side. If it went like this, you were good. Mm-hmm. Right? Because it was heavy.
Yep.
My piston rod assembly weighed 1284. I know what it was. Went boom. Anybody in the tank come in. Brad, he had his motor out 6 hours later. He says, I can't. Take it out. It's got to cool down. We waited. So now the tent is there. He's going in to weigh his piston. We wanted to go in there because I knew who built his motor, Jack Tant. And when I drove for Danny Vesey called Jack Tant for an engine. Danny gets on the phone with Jack. He says, Jack, I need an engine. Because Danny used to buy engines for his modified through Jack Tant. And Jack Tant, Danny had his lingo right down to his science. He can imitate him, unbelievable. I said, Dan, what did he say? He says, Danny, I could build you one of them engines for 11.8 or something like that. And listen, Danny says, well, it has to have a 2-barrel cast iron intake on it. Danny, listen to me. I could put a teacup on that intake and make talk. I'll never forget it. Danny said, yeah. And the motors here back then were 9,500. TA was building them, He wanted big money. And later on, I found out he was just ripping off the guys from the Northeast here. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Just because he was down in Virginia or something. He had that Ray Hendricks boom. That's where everybody went and jumped ship because Ray Hendricks had a small block beating all the big blocks. All right, so getting back to the tent.
Yep. Pocono.
Pocono. We got the piston and rod. They're bringing it in. So we go in the tent. They threw us out. So why? I say everybody was in the tent when you weighed my piston rod. Listen, this is a true story. I'm not lying. Threw us out. Now the tent, we're all in the back. We're looking through the crack of the tent. They put the piston and rod on. Didn't move. Huh. Didn't move. The official took a weight off. We saw him.
Wow.
Saw him do it. Pull the weight. Boom. Watched him. What do you do now, Paul?
And this is the biggest
race.
This is the biggest event in the country for those
for the late models. Yeah. It's like winning the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow.
Right?
So what'd you do?
I mean, what would you do? We start freaking out. That's what we start. The whole crew.
The New Haven gang is getting a little excited.
We're the New Haven gang. We're going nuts. The promoter comes over to me and says, Chuck, be happy with second. Because if you keep it up, I'm going to take second away from you. What happened was the guy's father owned a modified, and he knew all the officials. They had it rigged for him to win. 2 weeks later, in November, Flemington, that was the last year for Pocono. Yep. They were changing. It went to Flemington. Me and my buddy, I says, they're having a late model race in Flemington. I think we should go there just to see. I said, the Race of Champions is going there next year. Let's go to this race so we can figure out the track. Me and my buddy load the car. We go to Flemington. Pull in. Unload the car. I got street tires on. The threaded tires from Pocono. They got slicks. I'm coming through. I'm beating them.
Wow.
I'm beating them with the street tires. Coming through. I qualified in the heat with the street tires. So I says, we go over to the tire truck. And we said to the guy, if we put slicks on, how much faster will we be? Half a second? We're doing the math. Half a second. We'll be in the front row. I buy 2 right side tires, pick 2 scrap tires out of the pile for the left side, put them on the car. We go out. Start like 17th in the back. Now, there was this, I knew all these guys from Pocono that were racing there, and the one kid, Rusty Turbish,
Oh, yeah.
he was there racing. And we were kind of buddies, you know. And from all the Pocono days and everything. And Rusty says to me, Chuck, whatever you do not pass anybody going into 3 on the outside. You're going to find yourself into the wall. Thank you, Russ. No problem. We're race. I start 17th. Here's me coming. I'm coming through. Listen to me. 5 out of, I'm just passing them on the outside. coming through. 1 or 2 laps to go. 1 lap to go. I'm 3rd. It's Rick Giannitti. These are the guys. Rusty Turbish and me. We're going into 3. I'm on the outside of Rusty Turbish.
This is the guy who told you not to go up there.
Listen to me. He looks at me. Smashes into Rick Giannitti. They go both into the wall. Rusty bursted in flames, man. Blew up. Rick just raised the wall a little bit. Who's got the lead?
You do.
I got the lead, right? They didn't even know who I was. Mm-hmm. I just showed up there. Mm-hmm. They put Rick Giannitti back in front of me. Right. They put him back in front of me. Think, Stafford, you're in the back, man. They ain't putting nobody.
No, you don't
they
get your
put
spot
him back in front. I said, no problem. I'll beat this kid on the outside. Start the green flag, you know, boom. I'm coming around, you know, between 3 and 4, and they had all the speedy dry, and I'm on the outside of them. Car starts slipping like this in the speedy dry. I said, no problem. I'll get him in the next one. Boom, they threw the checker. They threw the checker flag.
This is a 1-lap shootout.
They didn't go green, white, checker.
It was green checker.
You had green checker.
Wow.
Yep. I said, no problem. I'll get him the next lap. Yeah.
Checker's out.
Checker's out.
Wow.
Yeah, they knew I was going to win the race.
Wow.
Yeah, they ain't winning. Yeah.
What was that track like?
That was fast and scary.
That's what everyone says.
Yep, fast and scary. You're constant. You're on that throttle. I mean, yeah.
Constant, right?
Yeah, it was crazy there. You hit there, you're.
I feel it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What were some of the other tracks you got to go to in your career?
Went to Lancaster, New York. Same year. September. Before that, September, they had some special races. So let's load the car and go. 91. Go to Lancaster, New York. Coming through the pack like a maniac. Boom. I'm in the warm-ups. Boom, bang. I'm hitting this kid. Bang, bang, get out of my way. I'm coming through, right? Coming off the track. We're coming in the pits. Boom! I get hit in the back. Boom! They keep smashing me. The kid keeps hitting me. It was the kid Joe Carbone. Race. I knew him from Pocono. Mm-hmm. He gets out of the car, comes walking over to the car. He says, Chuck, just remember, you're in my sandbox. Joe, I understand. It will never happen again. Sorry. Because if you screw with them, they're going to wreck you. Mm. No problem, Joe. I'm in your sandbox. There, I'm coming through, right? There's a guy in the third turn with a flag. And a caution would come out. What do you do, Mark? You back out?
Yeah.
Not there. You race. You race to that guy to the flag.
Whoa.
And that's how they mark you where I back out. I'm back out. All these people are passing me. I said, run past me. I'm getting my spot. They keep putting me back. I keep coming to the front. I didn't know the rule.
Yeah.
I just showed up there. I didn't know. Then at the end of the race, this kid, Ron Nurmi, another kid I knew that raced there, Chuck, what the hell you doing? You're supposed to race to that guy in the third turn. Whoa. Oh, now you told me. I think I ended up 8th or 9th, which I could probably been up in the front. They kept putting me back. I passed more cars. I must have passed the same car 10 times.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, that was another rule.
Felt like the world's against you once you left Connecticut. I mean,
but we were fast. That's all I can. We were fast. They knew I was there.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was it for that. It's hard to remember all this stuff.
Let's talk about some of your wins at Stafford. I know
Yeah.
there was some great ones, some extra distance events in there. Is there maybe a race or two that sticks out to you?
Yeah. In 90, when we went pro stock race, I didn't like it. I sold my car to Pete Body. And Pete Body was driving. And I think 3 wrecks in a row, he wrecked the car. Come on, never even made one lap. And I wasn't driving the pro stock because I wrecked it and we couldn't fix it. And I kept fixing Pete's car, put clips on it. I think after the 3rd week, he says, Chuck, you drive. We drive, I get to the front, finish second too. So I've been driving for him. So that was like 95, 96, 97, 98. 96, I'm going to have the first year with Pete. He owned the car, I was the driver. He changed it to number 8. Mm-hmm. And it was Spring Sizzler, and I'm looking at the field. We're in this way. I said, Pete, I got everybody covered here. The Spring Sizzler. I said, that one kid right there, that's the kid we got to worry about. It was Chuck Doherty. I pointed to Chuck Doherty. Me and Chuck, the last 96 last race, running for the championship. And he beat me. Mm-hmm. I finished second. Mm-hmm. I said it. Spring Sizzler, there's one guy we got to worry about. Him, right there. 97, finished second again. 98, second again, winning race, Yep. And then I think in between that, we had a meeting, rules meeting. And they changed the rules where you could put your shock on the outside of the, not stock. Yep. Yeah. And put a price on the shock, $175 a piece. I'm paying $60 for my shocks. I said, Danny, what? That's a lot of money. I pay $60 for my shocks. Well, maybe if you bought the better shocks, you wouldn't finish second every year.
And the Danny you mentioned is Danny Hardy.
He was a good guy.
Long time
He was a good
here.
guy, but he knew how to needle you. I just 99. I won the championship. Yep. We're at the getting the awards at the banquet. Go over to Danny's table. Dan, how did I do with my $60 shocks? I got them back. Yeah. But I'll tell you, we had some races on ESPN. Mm-hmm. We were on ESPN, the last race. Yep. One of them races, 97.
Yeah, I think it was part of the
300.
They come over and interview me. Yeah, and I was done racing. I didn't want to race no more. And I was going for the championship. They're interviewing. I think it was Chuck Doherty. Yeah.
I think it was,
race, Chuck Doherty and me. And we were interviewing. Yeah, I'm going to retire after this. And I had that. Yep. I lost, didn't win it, But I retired on national TV. Came back the next year.
You did. You did.
Yeah. I'll tell you, it was the biggest thing in racing is you race one night, but you work on the car the other 6. If you want to be up in front. You cannot. You got to be on. You got to know everything about that car. You got to work on it. It's all you think about is racing. You're going to go to the front. But if you lose that, you ain't going anywhere. That's why I quit. I lost that.
I was going to say, is that what drove the retirement?
Yeah, I lost that drive. You need that drive.
And what do you think caused that? Just your business was busy?
Yeah,
and
busy.
Stuff like that?
I wanted to concentrate on business. Yeah.
Do you miss it now?
Yeah, I miss it. Yeah, I do miss it. Driving, did all the, but the work end of it is just was way too much.
But you stayed a part of the Stafford family, though, for quite some time behind the scenes.
Yep. Then they were going to put a mic in my car.
Wait, who was?
They're going to put a mic.
Oh, boy.
Yep. They're going to talk to me while I'm racing.
Yeah, well, I think I was here
So
that night.
So now we're racing. I'm second. First. So I can't remember who was first. I was second. Yeah. So Ben Dodge gets on, says, Chuck, what's your strategy on this? What's your strategy on this restart?
One of the greatest clips of all time, and I hope we can find it.
Yeah. I says, listen, I'm going to have my foot so far into the gas pedal, I'm going to be trimming my toenails on the fan blade. They couldn't even talk in the tower. They were laughing so hard. Yeah. That was a good time. And, they just said, Chuck, they ruined me for years after that on that one. Yeah.
I got to ask about one that my dad always loves to talk about is your run-ins with Jay Stuart.
Yep.
Right,
Yep. Jay Stuart. Yeah. Listen.
Sick. Let's clear the scene here.
I'm right. It was September. I think I was fourth in points. In 2099, I won the champ. 2000, I gave my car away to the McCarthy, Steve McCarthy, and that crew from,
Yep. Whose
son
now is driving.
Yeah. Yep. His son. Steve was a good kid. He had this, what's his name? He owns the 31. The 31 late model.
The Russells.
Rob Russell. And there was this kid, Rob Lee. They owned the car. So I owned the motor. I said, listen, I'll take care of the engine. You guys own the car. So now, 2000, maybe after that, I drove for them. Didn't run good. They wouldn't listen. What the car was doing, they wouldn't make the adjustment. Whatever would happen. So one of them years was the 2 weeks before, and I'm fourth in points, not going to win the championship. And the owner, Ron Paul, I think he had Chuck Doherty driving for him or somebody. He comes, I'm sitting to go out in the race, in the car. Ron Paul comes over to me, Chuck, need a favor. You got to take Jay out for me. I says, I'll see what I could do, Ron. Now, 15 years earlier, I'm at Waterford, going to win the race. I'm under Phil, under Jay, going by them both. Jay hooks a right into me, puts me in the wall.
15 years ago.
15 years ago.
Never forgot.
So we're going down the straightaway. Here's the car wasn't running that good. They had me all screwed up. Jay is going down the backstretch. And the Jay, I don't know how he could do this, but he banging my car. Going down the straightaway. Don't you lose speed? The kid's going faster. I don't know how he did it, but he's banging my door. Pissed me off. And he gets, boom, took him right out. Hits the wall.
Done.
Right in the wall, he's done.
Mm-hmm.
Get whoever it was, I think it was Chuck Darkety, gets the points. He's going to win. Knock Jay out. So now I get a call. Chuck, I know the person that's running Roland's campaign, right?
Governor.
The governor.
Okay, I didn't see this coming up.
They want to sponsor me for the last 2 or 3 races. 2 races left or something. So, yeah, we make the deal, put their name on the car. So I call Mark. Now, they already penalized me $200. Start at the back of the field for the rest of the season. I get the letter. So I call Mark. I said, Mark, we got Roland coming in the stands. It's Friday night. He's watching me race. He sponsored my car. So now we got to make these arrangements for Roland. And he's got me in the penalty box. He says, Chuck, I feel bad that, we got you in the penalty box. I said, Mark, don't worry about whatever it is, it is. But we got to do this thing. Yeah, I says, you didn't want Jay Stuart to win the championship anyways. We don't want him as a champion. He never said nothing. He just laughed, He would never say that was good or not. Mark, whatever happened. One thing I learned about Mark, he didn't care who you were getting penalized. He didn't do favorites. He was good that he didn't care. He didn't take, sides because it was me. You're in the penalty box. You're in the penalty box. That's it. We get rolling here. Car's running like crap. I'm pissed off because I'm telling this Steve, I'm loose. Put bite. They wouldn't listen to me. Steve was in the stands, wasn't even on pit row. I pulled off the track and told my guy, crank that left rear down as far as you could. Crank it down. 6 turns, I says. Put 6 turns, putting bite in the car. I go out, car's afoot. Got bite now, man. I'm coming. I went back. The car's going good.
Yeah.
Had a little push coming out. Little push. I said, Steve, leave the car where it is. Lower that right front spring down 100 pounds. Right? We go to this fall final. I get here. I get in the car. Car's fast. Flying. Go back. I go in. They changed jetting in the carburetor. I go out. Went 2 laps. Car's flying. It's going faster. I get into the pits. I start swearing at everybody. You bunch of idiots. Chuck, just get the hell out of here. They lowered the jets down some more. They lowered them 10 jet sizes. Oh. I go out in the feature. The car's a rocket ship. Mm-hmm. The motor man screwed up. Chassis man screwed up. Everybody screwed up. I'm out there flying. Last lap, me, Scott Garrity. Went under Scott, boom, coming around. We go across. They didn't know who won.
I remember this. Mm-hmm.
They didn't know who won. We're waiting. They went to we had the transponders. Weary. Exact.
To the thousand.
Tied.
To time. To the thousands. Declared us both the winner.
Yep.
So now, I go in the pits. Ron Paul comes over to me. He was losing his driver. Chuck, I want you to drive for me next year. I want the best late model driver in this place. You're it. I want you next year. You come and drive for me. So that we just won the race. We're flying with my number 8 car, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't drive for him. I don't know if it was a mistake or what, but, you know.
I remember that tie.
And I got to tell you, when I came in that race after I took it, Ron Paul handed me $200. He paid the fine.
Wow.
Yep. He paid the fine.
Wow.
For me. But he didn't end up winning the championship anyways. He didn't win it. I think Peterson won it.
Yeah, I think
Jimmy Peterson. Yep.
Yeah. He didn't win it. Something happened. He didn't win it. But we got Jay out for him. That's what he wanted.
Yeah.
I did it for him.
So
Jay never said one word to me.
he probably remembered 15
He
years
remembered,
ago.
yeah.
He doesn't forget.
Yeah, he didn't forget. Yeah.
So you
Today, I see Jay. I have no problem.
Yeah.
So we talk to each other. No problem. We was racing,
So you talk about your driving style a lot, how you charge from the back. You were on the outside. You would put the car anywhere. How would you describe your driving style, and where did it come from? Was it an inspiration from like another driver, or was it just how you
I
felt?
don't think I was that good of a driver because I wasn't smooth. I was rough. And to be a real good driver, you got to be smooth.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I was smooth at all. I was just get to the front. Now, another race I won, we put a new motor in my car. We dynoed it, and we had changed the heads. This is another story. I go out, the car's so friggin' fast. It was like brand new engine, had flying. I pull up to Mike Wood in the heat race. I'm winning the heat race. I slow down to have Mike pull up next to me. I look at him, I waved to him and took off. I was being a real idiot jerk. Go out in the fixture, flying, won the race, almost lapped the track. Pulling off the track, right? Danny Pardee comes over with his golf cart while I'm driving the car. Zentarski, I'll never forget his face. Pull that engine out right now. We pull it out, pull the piston rod out, hand it to him, looks at it, he sees there's nothing wrong, and he says to me, and Zentarski, don't ever stink up the show like that ever again. And I said, Dan, I'm sorry. I'll never do it again. I apologize. Today, I think kids would just say, go kill yourself. I mean, you have to have respect. For the
No,
track.
I agree with you. I mean,
You got to have respect.
we've,
for it.
I think
Yeah.
recently, though, in the last couple of seasons, it's been interesting where if that does occur, we pull them aside and we go, what are you doing? It's
Yeah.
not about you.
Right.
You're gonna if you're going to win the race, you're going to win the race. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's about the fans at the end of the day.
Yeah, right.
And that, I think, that's probably a good a lesson for your whole
Oh,
career
yeah,
because
yeah.
eventually, I mean,
Yeah.
Chuck Zentarski becomes an all-time fan favorite at
Right.
Stafford. All
Right.
time.
Yeah. Yep. And I learned, Danny, and you're not supposed to do that, But, yeah, that was Danny's,
And then
Yeah.
eventually, like Kyle kind of touched on, you do come back to be a tech official.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
tell us, like,
That was
the other side of the fence now. Like,
I
what?
learned a lot of stuff on the other side of the fence. And one thing I learned is there was no favoritism. You know what I mean? From anybody.
Everybody thinks there is.
But they're right. And even I thought that. And I learned there isn't. Mark runs it straight up. He wants it straight up.
Yeah.
And that's what I learned.
You have to be that way.
I got to tell you a story. We're walking down the Midway here, right? And me and Mark, and I said, Mark, who was your greatest nemesis? Gave you the most problems? Chuck, has to be Bo Gunning. Do you think we're walking, here comes Bo Gunning?
Of course.
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. They stopped. Do you know your father talked to him for 15, 20 minutes like he was his best friend?
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't take it personal.
Yeah.
It was all business. He must have disqualified threw him out of here 10 times. But he talked to him and like he was his, he treated him like no hard feelings, nothing that. And he says, yeah, it has to be Bo Gunning. He looked at it like that's the way he was. That's the way he was. I mean, one day your father calls me up. Bo Gunning wanted to run SK Lights. What was my opinion? I says, Mark, he can't do it. You can't put him in the SK Lights. He's an SK guy, and he's just going to think them kids and push him around. He ain't going to run fair with them kids. I don't think it's going to. Well, Chuck, that's all he can afford to race is the SK. He doesn't have the money to race SKs. But I says, it's not a good idea. Well, Bo Gunning goes to SK light racing. I think he lasted 3 weeks. He was gone. I think every week we had to put him to the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't make it.
Huh.
Yeah, he got knocked out because, that's you're going in a lesser class.
Yeah.
You're going to push your way,
Yeah.
Yeah. Bo's my friend. I know him, and
He came on the podcast. He was.
he was just.
Yeah.
No,
that's interesting how you talk about how you got to treat everybody the same. Here,
Yep.
I think even last season there's always the argument of favoritism, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny to me and to David and to everybody who's in it, Tom Fox. It's that it's so insane that some of the conspiracies that exist, and you're like, if we were that smart to pull some of this shit off.
Yeah. I mean, when you guys were racing, I was official. I used to watch you guys, and you kept it clean.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, look at Mark preaching these kids,
Yeah.
keep it clean. And I could see it on the track.
Yeah.
That he was telling you, don't do nothing great. You know what I mean?
Well, now I drive a late model.
Yeah.
And the late model division
Hard to be clean.
It's you'd be right at home.
Yeah.
You would be right at home.
Yeah.
It's I call it the old, because I grew up watching your style of late model racing where you guys would kill each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
It kind of got I'm not saying it's good or bad or either way, but it's gotten back to that but we don't destroy equipment, but you're gonna drive right into the guy in front of you to get him to move.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's intense.
Yeah, it's intense. I mean, I watch it on the the
Stream.
On the stream, and I
Flow
watch
subscriber right here.
Yeah.
Flow Racing.
Yeah. And tell you, there's some good racing. Good racing. All the divisions good racing. Yeah. Lately, I've seen.
So here's a question I have for you. In your career, how would you describe how racing changed from the beginning to your retirement?
It got more sophisticated. The cars handle better. They with the technology, and they got better.
Do you think that's a good thing?
And it costs more money.
Yeah.
But everything goes up, and is it a good thing? That's it's hard to say that to me because I like the old school racing.
Sure.
But the kids like the new stuff, and I like the old school racing where you built your own car and you came and raced, Down West Haven Speedway, every gas station had a stock car.
Yep.
And drove them to the Speedway and raced. But they built it, and, you know, it was as less money as you can, and went out and tried to do it. And then the money thing where you had people, technology, and I'm going to tell you, you see now the new Winston Cup cars or whatever, the new, with the one lug wheel. Bad mistake. I don't think it's like the Indy cars with that one lug. You're taking the fans. You make a mistake putting on a lug. It's all part of racing. You got to go to the back, and now there's no mistakes. The fans don't get to see a guy lost the lug, didn't put the lug on, had to go to the back of the pack and come through the field. You know what I mean?
A lot of the character of the sport being
right,
lost.
Yeah. They're making it like Indy now. That's it. I don't think it's going to be good. Like in NASCAR, though, they just ruined themselves. They shot themselves in the foot the way they did this stuff, the way they're doing. Put everybody to the back, or put the fastest guy in the front. Put him in the back.
Hey, that's the Stafford way, right?
Yeah. You want the fans to be interested. It's for the fans.
Yep.
And they don't do it.
Yeah, and you're on Flow every week. You're tuning in. The racing at the result of when you put Keith Arocco 10th at the start of the race, or you put Michael Bennett 12th to start the race.
Yeah.
It pays off because the racing is the best.
Right.
The best.
Right. You want to watch. That's where the racing comes in. That's what it's about. Put the fastest guy in the back. You know, they don't do that. Yeah.
Do you miss the weekly grind, whether it be a driver or a tech official here at the racetrack, that 6 month or so Friday night?
Well, I miss, meeting all the people.
Yep.
But, even as an official, when I was driving, I sucked up to the officials.
Well, yeah, I mean.
I didn't call them names or, I wanted them to be my friend. Just because maybe they won't break your balls on every little farty thing, And when I was official, some of the guys, looked at me different now. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like I was a bad guy. But I was actually there to try to help them, and try to make it equal for everybody, That was my thought process. Try to, And when Jay was racing, he was still racing when I was there. I was rooting for the guy because he had all the old technology in his car.
Yeah.
And everybody had these crazy springs
The new stuff,
with all these nutty things going on in the car that I still don't even understand. I mean, they were putting 1,000-pound springs in the right rear. Jay had his regular 200 pounds, 107, whatever, going out and hanging right with him. And we used to try to talk to Jay. Jay, don't lose it. Just come back next week. But he would, turn the switch and lose it, flip out if you got beat.
Do you have an all-time greatest memory at Stafford, like a favorite? If you had to pick one.
Father retiring my number.
Yeah, that meant a lot to you.
It's got to be the greatest thing. Feeling. When he retired my number with Richie Evans, me and Richie Evans retired from Stafford.
And now TC.
I mean, that's unbelievable. Now we got Teddy. I'm in unbelievable company. The greatest two drivers ever. And I'm retired right with them. That's got to be the best thing.
Was that your greatest achievement in racing, you think? Or do you got
winning the 2 championships in 1 year, being the fastest in 91. Yeah. Some of the races I did, Some of the races I did. But get my number retired was huge.
So if you had to say what your greatest achievement, it's that?
That has to be it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think because, listen, I used to get punished, go to the back of the field. and not once ever did I ever complain about anything. I took my punishment and went home. I got to tell you a story. One year, Greco, Cliff Stanky, Larry Vassar, they were teaming up against me. They were, didn't like my driving style anymore. So Larry Vassar comes over to me in the pits. Taking you out tonight, Zentarski. Taking you out. All right, no problem. Going down the straightaway, he tries hitting me. Boom. He goes into the wall, wrecks. I do a complete 360 and keep going. Right? Never stop, going. So now the three of them go up to the tower to see Danny. And someone says, Chuck, they're going to the tower to complain about you. When Larry tried spinning me out. So I followed them right up to the tower. So they're pleading their case, all three of them. Zentarski this, Zentarski. How come Zentarski didn't go to the back of the pack when he got spun? And you know what Danny said to him? He never stopped forward motion. He didn't put, I never stopped.
Yeah.
I could go backwards on the track if I want. But, never stopped forward motion. They were busy. Then Danny, he gets all done with them. He goes to me. And what do you want? I said, Dan, I just want to see who's bad-mouthing me. That's all I said.
Yep.
So I said, and I left. I didn't say Larry tried taking me out,
Right.
complain, nothing. I would say, I just want to see who's bad-mouthing me. But I never complained about anything. I mean, I think, I was a racer. Whatever happened, that's the way I looked at it.
Are you able to get back to the track on select Friday nights? I know you watch on Flow. Have you attended at all in the last little bit?
Right now I'm into, when I stop being official, I'm into street rods now, hot rods. And we got car shows to go to, and I've been into that, I got a bunch of cars.
It'll keep you busy.
Keep me busy, yep. And I've been doing that, and I still follow what's going on, but I'm so caught up on everything else that racing's out of my system now.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Where I couldn't wait to go. Now they ask Chuck, let's go to the races, but it's a different thing when you're sitting in the stands.
Sure.
And you're not driving, And you're not part of. Listen, I know I could come here. If I do come, I'm gonna want to help.
Yeah.
Put me to work.
Yeah.
I don't even want money, just I'll work, whatever, But what happened was I was coming home 1 o'clock in the morning. I got an hour and 15-minute ride. I had my head out the window, music blasting, so I wouldn't fall asleep. Because I'd be up 5 o'clock in the morning, 1 o'clock at night, man. You get up in age, you're sleeping. We used to go around the clock when I was younger, And I was going to wreck if I kept working. That was one of the things why I quit. Falling asleep, going home. It was getting bad. I fell asleep one night. Woke up and I was corrected it.
Scary. That's
scary. It's scary. And that's when I quit. Kind of kill myself here.
Yeah, you don't want that.
That was one of the things that made me quit. If I lived around the block, I'd probably still be here. But that was a big part of it.
Well, Chuck,
I hate to admit that.
Yeah.
I'm a wimp falling asleep, but That's what happened.
Well,
you can only pull 20-hour days for so long.
Yeah.
And you were part of the sport since you were 17, 16 years old,
Yeah.
and as a kid even younger, going over to Seven Rock Speedway.
Seven Rock Speedway.
Well, Chuck, at the end of every episode, we kind of do a rapid fire question. So we'll ask you a question. You kind of tell us the first thing that comes to mind.
Yep.
Right? So who would you say your biggest rival of all your career was?
Got to be Jay Stuart.
Jay Stuart. Okay.
Yep.
How about your favorite track as a driver, as a fan, just a place you like to go?
Stafford Speedway.
Stafford is your number one?
Yeah,
All right,
number
wow.
one. Yeah.
How about the toughest track you've ever driven?
Stafford Speedway.
How about besides Stafford? Toughest place?
Waterford. Thompson was easy.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, on a weekly basis, Waterford was, but Thompson was the easiest track I ever drove. The banks hold you in, you just step on it, but that Flemington was a tough track, and that Lancaster that had a dragway down the back stretch. So when you came off the turn, you went like this, coming down the back straightaway or the front straightaway. We were like this. It was weird. Then we went to Oxford, raced for the 200-lap race. Listen, wherever you went, like Pocono, they had 6 heat races. 4 of the heat races won by Stafford guys. You know what I mean? 4 of the heat races won by Stafford people that raced here. This was if you could run here and be in the front, you could run anywhere and be in the front.
And I'd say that's still the case.
Because this place is the most competitive out of any other track. They have the most competition. People, so many good drivers,
Do you have a favorite car of your whole career?
My 91 car, Zeke. I nicknamed it Zeke. That was my favorite one.
Yeah.
That 91 car it was unstoppable. And, at the end of my career, the last race, any little thing what that car would do on the track wasn't right, I could feel it. I knew there was something wrong. Being that, many years of experience, I knew if the car was good or bad in one lap, But go ahead, some more.
What else I got?
Favorite national driver? You have a favorite driver that competes on the national scene?
Right now or past?
Past?
Richie Evans was my favorite. Besides Billy.
Yep.
But Richie Evans was I used to follow him. I'm in his book. When they were pulling the engine out of Riverside Park, there's a picture of him pulling the engine out. He was taken out of Richie. I was standing right there in the back. I'm in the book. As, not a name, but there's a picture of me when I was a kid.
Did you ever drive a modified?
Waterford.
How'd you take? Did you like it? Not for you, or
the biggest thing? Guy asked me to drive. To be in a race car, you got to be comfortable in that car. You gotta. When I sat in my late model, it was like I was in my Cadillac. You know what I mean? I had that thing adjusted, everything just right. I got in that modified, wasn't comfortable. Good driving. Because it wasn't built for me.
Right.
I would have to change, not enough legs were cramped up. I remember going here, John Bauer racing an SK. I go over to talk to him, his knees were hitting the dash. Oof. I said, how you drive this car, John? I mean, because he was a tall kid. I drive it. I said, man, I had to be stretched, I think I raced it 1 or 2 times, and not for me. Unless had it specially built for me. I don't know.
One final question here.
Yeah.
All-time favorite victory of your whole career. You only can pick one.
Has to be when me and Scott Garrity tied.
It's your favorite.
That's one of my favorites because we were tied, and I think we made history then, us two being the,
I think you're the only ones that ever
ever
tied
did it. Yeah, in NASCAR history.
Yeah.
I think that was my favorite.
Wow.
I have a lot of them, but that one stands out the most because the way I did it on the last lap, and
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of races where one thing I never won a race where I got it by accident.
Right.
I always had to fight for my wins. Like one time at Thompson, Ricky Shawn, Phil Rondo, I'm third. And Ricky Shawn was a loose cannon. He was a nut. Going into one, he just poured it in. Him and Phil, they drove each other up to the track. Boom, I went under him. I'm coming for the checkered flag. Some kid in the back hits the wall by himself. Drew out the caution. I would have won the race. Never happened.
Yeah.
Never happened. Almost.
Yeah.
Never happened. Where I had to scrap and scrape. Another time over here, I was just watching the race on YouTube. 92. Went to the front, getting the lead. Got spun out by Scott Forster. Go to the back of the pack. 25-lap race. Come back, Drew, get the lead again. Get the lead again, and lost it. Finished fourth. Yes,
You must have passed 50 cars.
Right. Yeah. It's wrecks and this and that,
Yeah.
Got by, It's on YouTube, A lot of stuff on YouTube.
A lot of good stuff on there.
A lot of
classics,
good stuff on there. Yeah.
A lot of good stuff.
Yeah,
Including the Bottom Shot podcast.
Including this podcast will be on there.
That's
alongside it.
Well, when will that be on?
Probably within the next couple of weeks. Yeah, probably.
Oh,
in
okay.
January, yeah.
Yep.
You'll be our fourth guest. We've had Tom Fox was on our first
Oh,
episode.
yep.
We had Dick Bergeron and then Lou Boyd. Those are excellent. And then you'll be the fourth guest.
Yep. Another favorite win was at Waterford. It was one of my rookie years. And we went to I had this guy, Ian R. Mower, sponsoring me. So he had an opening, he had a thing going on at his business, and he wanted me to display the car. So the night before, I stayed in New London, went out partying all night. All night. 7 o'clock, we had to be at E&R Mower, there with a hangover, showing everybody the car. 5 o'clock, we had to be at Waterford. 11 o'clock at night, we're going out for our feature. I'm sitting in the car. My guy comes back, my head is pounding. I says, my friend JP says, JP, this is the last thing I want to do is drive this car. Could we go home? We're lined up for the feature. I said, I don't care. I want to go home. Just go home. Headache. My head was throbbing. Just partying all night, He says, Chuck, you can't go home. We got to race the race. I said, I don't care about the race. Go out. Boom. Won the race. On the outside of Artie Moran, lap after lap, lap after lap, and I edged them out like this and won the race. One of the best races I ever raced.
Huh.
I forgot about that one till it just hit me.
The hangover.
That was the hangover race. My headache went away. I got out of that car like a new man.
Wow.
not like, you know what I mean? Let's do it again.
Yeah. Wow.
And I wanted to go home.
That's
Yeah.
the hangover victory.
The hangover victory was unbelievable.
Well, Chuck, I think it was hour and a half of storytelling. We could keep on going. This is
I
wonderful.
got more if you want to hear.
I think our listeners will love this. You're always one of the most requested guests to come on the show. I think you're a Stafford legend. We appreciate all you've done for the track over the years, being an official. You're a friend of Stafford forever. So we enjoyed this, and I think everyone else will too.
If I come this year, you put me to work for a night?
If you want to.
Okay.
He'll find something for you to do.
Yeah, I'm fine.
You can operate our new scoreboard.
All right, yeah.
Well,
No
Chuck,
problem.
appreciate it. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I loved every minute of it.
Awesome.
Yeah.